नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशकारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. This is a topic that keeps coming up again and again. Recently, a lot of people have been asking me about this, and so I thought, let us spend some time thinking about mind control, right? Controlling the mind. Why? Why should we control the mind?
I got it here.
How do you control the mind?
What is it?
And what are you really controlling it from?
Just go through.
You may flip the order of these two, but sort of spend a little bit more time to think of this in a depth and try to understand from Prabhupada's books, the teachings in our Vedic understanding. How do you think about this important topic? So the first question I have asked is, why should you control your mind? They say, what is the need for doing that?
There are too many deviations in it.
The reason is, you're saying there is deviations around. Okay? So there are deviations around you. So what's the problem with the deviations?
They are attractive deviations.
Huh? They attract?
They are attractive deviations.
The attractive deviations. So what happens if you go behind these attractive deviations?
We are going away from Krishna.
Going away from Krishna. So let's think about that for a second. Fundamentally, when you get attracted by a deviation, whatever the deviation is, let's say you're saying it's going away from Krishna. It sounds a little esoteric, not concrete. So I'm just trying to get the more depth behind, okay, what do you mean by going away from Krishna? Okay, let me ask that. What do you mean you're going away from Krishna by that?
Less thinking about him.
Less thinking about him. So what is it? What is the commodity that of yours that is being wasted when you're going? Right?
Time is wasted.
Time.
Energy.
Time, your energy. Right? And the Shastras, deviations lead to time being taken away from you. Right? So if you think about it, and that time could have been spent in Krishna's, thinking about Krishna, engage in Krishna service and all. If you think about the fundamental essence of mind control and all that, so we want to engage in the Lord's service, we want to spend our time and energy there, right? If you go a little bit deeper, when you think about time, time is a relative concept. For the Atma, it is actually an alien concept. Even though it's like so important and so much drives our existence here, at the Atma level, spirit soul level, it's a very alien concept, right? Why is it alien for the spirit soul?
The soul is eternal.
The soul is eternal, right? There is when you think about the three qualities of the soul, right? The soul is Sat, Chit and Ananda. We are eternal. What is the problem in losing some little bit of time that you have unlimited quantity of? So what is the point in if you lose a little bit of time in some little deviation? What's the problem?
Time is limited for this particular body that you have.
Yes, right? For the Atma it is Satchit Ananda, it is unlimited. But we are not, unfortunately we are not in a pure Atma state at this point, right? Your Atma is sitting here, there are two more bodies surrounding this, there's like two layers surrounding the actual Atma that we are seeing right now. So that particular Atma that is stuck in these 2-3 bodies, unfortunately is there's a ticking time bomb going up, right? So in this material life, even though time is an alien concept to us and unlimited quantity, we have a limited quantity of time that we can use in the Lord's service. And more importantly, when you say deviation, right, it is taking you away. Deviate means what? You're going in a path, you're going from, sometimes people have this experience, right? You start to do something, and you sit in front of your computer, I'm going to do this now. You start working on something. And 10 minutes later, you would have gone to 100 different things, but not the thing you're trying to do. Right? This is a very common experience, many of us have in terms of, the deviations of the mind. Now, okay, let's understand deviation of the mind. But think about it. Okay, time is being taken away from us. There are other things that happen. Let's say only time is being lost. Okay, just a little bit of time is being lost. It's not the end of the world. There are 24 hours in a day. Like how many hours are you really like chanting Hare Krishna? How many hours are you really engaged in Krishna? Maybe 2, maybe 3 at the most. You still have 19 hours to go or 21 hours to go, whatever the number of hours you have. Right? So then if you think like that, what else happens when the mind is not controlled? Any other experiences people have?
Actually, when we spend more time on other things other than Krishna, your mind is preoccupied with those. So there is no space for Krishna's thinking at that time. So your mind is more occupied with the other things, emotions, whatever we are going through than what we are supposed to do. So you're diverted from what your actual path.
Yeah. So diversions happen, right? So if you, to answer the question I was talking about, so we do 2-3 hours of chanting, let's say, you're all, most of you here are spending a lot of time, maybe chanting 16 rounds, almost all of us here. Okay, so that takes about 2 hours and we read for 1 hour and all that. So if you think about it, okay, 2-3 hours we are spending and then the rest of there is like 21 more hours left, right? If you go look at those 21 hours, you'll say, okay, I have to sleep. I mean, everybody has to sleep, right? Now, let's take something out of it. So there is about, 8 is a big number.
8 seems very
Somebody, so let's say between, I would put 6.5 as like somewhere at the lower end. 6.5. Like, let's put 6 also. There are some people get away with 6, I heard. To 8. Usually about 7.5. Somewhere there, right? And then you start, okay, there's still, let's even say it was 8 hours, you still have how many left? 13 hours left? Right? Okay, you still have 13 hours left. Let's talk about, okay, all of us have to take bath, brush your teeth, and eat food, and all those things. 3-4 hours go in there, 2-3 hours go over there, 2 hours go. Or maybe sometimes it's more, 11 hours left. We keep going down like that. The reason I'm just trying to say this is because the other thing that mind does is, it not only takes away time right away into deviation things, it creates false value systems. And some things you want to start hankering about. So then you can start doing this, you will say, I need this. I need this time, I need to work so that I can take care of my family and all those things. I work for 8 hours, then I have to commute for 2 hours, then this, and there's nothing left in the day. And when you start looking at this, you will say, I mean, I need these things, this is bare, table stakes. I can't live without it. Why do you need this? Is because you have created value systems for yourself that requires, that necessitates the creation of this. See, that is why and Srila Prabhupada in many places in his books, he keeps talking about simple living, high thinking, simple living, high thinking. Many places he says that. And it seems like a mental concept, it's in the mind level, if you live simply and all that. Prabhupada wanted to take it down to its bare essence. See, sometimes when we read Prabhupada's books and try to see, like, it seems a little unrealistic. I mean, it seems a little like esoteric and this thing. But Prabhupada is like a pure devotee. He is thinking of this at its fundamental level. It's a very fundamental level. Is going down to the bare essence. Saying, you really need this. It's like, okay, you only spent 3 hours here. You have 21 hours left. Like half an hour goes here, there. It's about, he's getting to the base of what this is, right? In many places, he used to say, what do you need to live? Go down to the basic fundamentals of what you need to live. Then you start going down like that. This modern world has created a complicated system of life that thinks, that necessitates 13, 14 hours of life for going away into things that could have been easily done in 5, 6 hours. Right? The Vedic system of living, these 2 hours of commute that we put over here wouldn't exist.
Didn't exist. Yeah.
Right? I was recently visiting a close relative's house. Beautiful house, 4,200 square feet in the Bay Area. And it's not in the Bay Area, so it was in San Ramon, in that area. And I said, oh, that's just a nice thing, why doesn't everybody have, big houses, I mean, 4,200 is criminal waste of square footage, that's a different story. But I'm saying, how are you able to get, such a big house, it's still expensive, but far away. It's because there's 1.5 hours of commute going there, 1.5 hours of commute coming back. We create this additional complications of, why we need all these hours going into things. If you go back to the more fundamental way of Vedic living, people used to live, Chanakya Pandit used to say this, happy are those person who doesn't go out of his house for work. He gives 2, 3 things. Those who work at home are the happiest, happy people. Not the today's work at home. You may be happy, your boss may not be happy. Or you may not be able to really get work done. But fundamentally at a concept level, right, we have created this value system. So the reason why these deviations are a problem is because the mind starts creating unnecessary necessities. Right? Unnecessary necessities get created. There is no end to the necessities that a human being needs. You start going deeper and deeper, everything becomes a necessity. So that is why, as spiritualists, we have to always keep looking back at the different things we do in our life and keep asking that question. Is this really the simplest form in which in my current state I can live? Right? Everybody's, the karma, situation and all that might be different. But we have to go down to the fundamentals of simplicity in our lives. Is this really the most fundamental, simple thing we can do? And if you're yarning at everything, think about it, all our life, finally it starts with desire. Right? If you have that fundamental desire that I want to spend more time for Krishna, I want to do more for Krishna, right? Then that desire will slowly, it'll take time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will slowly lead to situations being created, time being created for you. Magically, time will appear. Right? It is finally it has to have we have to have the desire. And in order for us to inculcate proper desires, proper these things, we need to make sure that we are spending our mind is letting us spend time on Krishna. right? Um, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the next two questions about why we talk about why we need to do this, because otherwise mind will create 100 different reasons for us to be busy. Everybody's busy. What are you busy with? Different goals, different things, and today you have this much, you want that much more because a new necessity has been created. Right? What is not a necessity that was required before. Any questions on this? Any thoughts on this?
So, Prabhu, one question. So it is said like in the Bhagavad Gita that not even for a moment one can be without acting, right? So
Yes.
we have to continuously keep on acting. So the mind basically is helping us to do that, right? So all we have to do is like how we plan that actions, because we cannot stop being acting, just like doubting, yeah.
So you're saying the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that there is not a moment when you're not acting, and so the mind is helping us in acting. How do we think about this? And
Yeah.
how do we make sure that that's the thing, right? Like you said, what are we acting on is the only problem. The problem is not that we are acting, right? What happens in the spiritual world? Let us think about, let's step back 30,000 feet level and think about what do you think is happening in the spiritual world. Let's take one of the planets, okay? So there, kala, time, is not. Prabhupada says very place, right? These are inconspicuous by their absence. Right? The kala doesn't act over there. There doesn't act like anything like kala in the spiritual world. But at the same time, there is also the descriptions in the Bhagavatam of let's take a Vaikuntha planet or something. Oh, Krishna Loka, let's go to the highest planetary system. Read the 10th canto. What happens there? So Krishna is getting up. Let's say some Vrindavan. With other cowherd boys. They're all getting up in the morning. Their parents are all dressing them up nicely, and they're having breakfast and taking their calves and going out. Seems like they're also busy, right? They're also doing things, right? But what is happening during the doing things that is happening in the spiritual world? Every moment of every action that is done is giving everybody pure happiness, right? Every step, every this thing. In fact, Yoga Maya creates the illusion of day and night and all that in the spiritual world. Right? Those are all created to enhance the pleasure, the experience of happiness that happens between the different entities that are experiencing this pleasure with Krishna in the spiritual world. Right? Here in the material world, we can get to that kind of, this can become Vaikuntha, this can become Goloka. If you're spending all the time thinking of Krishna, you said that, right? I'm getting deviated from thinking of Krishna. How you put Krishna in the center of your life. Now you're actually getting to the how question. Like, how do we actually control the mind? Right? Then, yes, the mind can become your best friend. That's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything that happens here, every action that you do can be an enhancer for your spiritual life. Okay. So let's talk about how do we control the mind. Right? We understood about, why is there a necessity to control the mind. But how do you control the mind? What are the different principles that we learn from let's say the Gita or the Bhagavatam? What are the concepts? Like 2-3 fundamental concepts. Any?
In shlokas, when if you say Ambarish Maharaj, fix your mind on lotus feet of Krishna, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravi. Like your mind has to be controlled.
Fixing. So basically, one of the fundamental concepts is you can either fix on Maya or Krishna, right? There is 2 options for you. So if you fix your mind on Krishna, then automatically you're not fixing your mind in Maya. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Param Drishtva Nivartate. So one of the fundamental concepts is param drishtva nanuvartate. When you achieve a higher happiness, when you get attracted by a higher happiness, automatically the lower happinesses will fall off the list. Right? So this is the most fundamental concept of mind control. We all know that. I'm sure we would have heard of this in multiple forums and all that. And we try to do this. Right? But are we successful in doing this?
Not all the time.
Not all the time. Right? Why are we not successful? We know that there is a higher taste. Why are we not successful?
Needs planning.
Planning.
And
I mean, it's not as simple as I can get up in the morning and make a plan, say I want to read that this time, I want to do this at this time, I want to chant at this time, you can do that, but
Keep yourself busy in activities related to Krishna.
Yeah. I mean, so there is an element of, we know that param drishtva nivartate, but Maya somehow takes us away. So along with knowing that this is the way to get out, we should also spend a little bit more time in understanding how Maya catches us.
What are the means?
Because what is happening, otherwise if you're not doing this, you're doing here.
How are we
Why, how does Maya catch us? Where is it that she catches us? How does she get our attention? Where do we get caught? If you spend a little bit time on that, so there are two sides, there are two concepts of this. See, our emphasis and focus should be on this. But if you know the other aspect of how Maya attacks you, then you can spend time, ensure that you're not getting caught in this traps. It is not that, one morning I started, I was reading the 16 Rounders forum of WhatsApp and everybody was putting such nice messages about Krishna and all that. I was just reading that. I so happened to see the one above that, which was my high school mates, WhatsApp group. And then 5 minutes later, I was here. 10 minutes later, I was there. And half an hour later, I was here. 2 hours later, I was there. Right? You should know both.
Understanding your weak points, I think.
To be
Spending.
careful and attentive.
Now, there is another, for that part of how Maya catches you, there is another important sloka in the Bhagavad Gita. You should understand both. If you know both, then only you will know how to stay away from one versus the other. Can somebody tell me what is that important sloka that talks about mind? But Krishna gives us a secret of how to not get attracted to Maya.
Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsa.
Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. Right? What does he say? Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha.
Sangaste Shubhajaya.
Dhyayato leads to
Sangha.
Dhyayato leads to Sangha. Right? What is Dhyayato? Vishyantuddha Sangha Steshu Vijayate. Then Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. Kamat Krodho Vijayate. I know we've talked about this before, but I want to put it in the context of this. This is a very fundamental, how do you get out of Maya concept that we need to understand. And I always keep giving, this example to illustrate this. So many of you would have heard this. If you have heard it, bear with me. But those who have not, this is a helpful concept. I keep giving an example. A huge cruise ship, right? How does this cruise ship run? Like, what propels it forward? Huh?
Engine or propeller? What? Propeller.
So there is a propeller here, right?
Yeah.
Massive propeller. Usually they are like 2-3 floors high. Real huge propellers. And somebody said, what is the propeller being driven by?
Engine.
Engine. There's an engine here. That is going on. And what is the engine being driven by? There's a fuel and all that. There's a fuel tank here. Okay, it's part of the engine. So it's still control room. Right, all the way up here in the 14th, 15th floor of this thing. A small this thing here, and a small computer there. That's controlling the Huge engine come to into this, right? What Krishna is telling us is, you are trying to control the cruise ship. Okay? You're trying to stop the cruise ship. Now, where do you stop it? Is the question Krishna is trying to ask. Because if you are in Krishna, then you didn't have this problem. Unfortunately, we are now in the bottom part of the decision tree here. So we are trying to stop it. Would you go try to stop a propeller? You think anybody will be successful trying to stop the propeller? No. But many of us try this. Very ardently we try this. Right? Can you go stop the engine? Pistons are going, you've seen the engine room, it will be like 30, 40 feet long, 20, 30 feet tall, and it will be going boop, 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 boop. Can you go try to stop that thing? When you go over here, one button, you press there, and huge ship just comes to a grinding halt.
The red button.
Right? So what is the button that Krishna is pointing to here?
Control. The thoughts.
Thoughts.
Dhyayato. What does the Sanskrit words means? Contemplation leads to contemplation. Leads to what is Sangha?
Attachment.
Leads to attachment. Leads to
Lust. Anger.
most people say, they go to self-help group or yoga, this thing. What do you want to do? I want to be peaceful. I want to control my anger. Right? Everybody says, I want to control my anger. I don't want to be, carried away by my lusty mind and all that. And we've all tried all methods to do that. Right? Everybody wants to do that because they know why is anger wrong? Because it leads to, it's a very tamasic state of existence, and it always leads to trouble. Nobody gets anything good out of anger. There's practically nobody who can exercise anger and get away. You will be in trouble. You're getting in, you're just a waste of everybody's time involved. Same with lust, so you have to go up the chain. This is like trying to control the propeller. Trying to control the engine room. None of this is going to stop. You have to go all the way over here. Jhayato. Contemplation. Right? Now, I understood the principle of this. I have to stop it at the contemplation level. But practically, how do you do it? Like, what does it mean? Right? So that is why Srila Prabhupada gave us a time. How do you make sure that you are able to control the mind at these levels, right? Then actually that leads us to the last question: what are you trying to control from? What are the key things that the mind gets attracted to and we get stuck? If you know these things, then we can make sure that our life is molded, our day-to-day activities are molded in a way that we are watchful of these pitfalls. And it is always good to know these things. Right? So, there is a nice verse by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that talks about, usually what are the things that captures the living entity's, the soul's attention. Anybody? I'm sure there are many slokas, but I can think of one. But anybody wants to take a turn? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's famous verse.
Krishna and Maya. Maya hai andhakara.
I'm talking about what that the living entity gets stuck in this material world with. And so there is a sloka in one of the Shikshashtaka slokas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't want to be doing this. Janam na janam na sundarim kavitam jagadisha kamaye. Right? Says, I want to be always engaged in your service. I don't want to be deviated by these things. Right? What are they? Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim Kavitam. This can be replaced by handsome man, whatever thing, for different, this thing. Its concept is still the same. It doesn't matter. It's just the other side of the same problem. There's no difference, right? So these are usually the things that, this is one way of thinking about it. I'm sure you'll come up with, I've got hundreds of deviations. But they'll fall into one of these three categories. Fundamentally, they'll fall into, these things are the things that catch our attention and take away, and then become this, become that, all these problems start manifesting, and we don't have time for Krishna because they are stuck up on this lowest level of existence, right? When you think about dhanam, right? So, oh no, we're all devotees, we're not carried away by wealth and this and that, right? We can say so many things. But you see, this is a very subtle thing, as I said, necessity. What is necessity is like,
You define
I
your own
only, I have only this much, what do we call, disposable income left. After taking care of all the necessities, that's a common thing we all say. But what is a true necessity? You fundamentally go and analyze that, you'll be shocked at what is really not a necessity. That only when you get to the core of it, as you advance more and more in spiritual life, you'll start, other so-called necessities start dropping off your list very slowly, right? But typically, what is it that we are usually not attracted by this so much? But what are the things we should do as devotees so that we don't get caught in this trap? Any thoughts?
Association with people, association matters a lot.
Most important thing.
That really matters on them.
Most important thing over here is association. Right? I just spent 2 hours in that San Ramon 4,200 square foot house. Already we only have 1,200 square foot houses we are building in the Vaikunta Hill for devotees. This thing. Maybe it should be 2,500 at least. Maybe 1,800. I right now sleep in 3 by 4 by about 8 and I'm happy. In that 4 by 8 square footage that I'm living in, all put together maybe about, my office doubles up as where I live and all. But it's like 150 square feet, maybe 200 square feet is like more than enough for a person. But you want 4,000, 2,000, whatever the 1,000 is, it doesn't matter what the 1,000 is. Point is, you don't need a 200 square feet also finally. What did the Sad Goswamis do? What were they doing?
Live under a
Every
tree.
day under a tree.
No, that too not under the same tree.
They travel a lot.
Different trees.
They wouldn't even stay under the same tree, let's go tree to tree so that we don't get tired.
Yes.
It's a nice tree, banyan tree, cool leaves, nice air conditioning, because it gets hot in the Vrindavan in summer, right? It's nice air conditioned tree, and this tree will settle down here. And before you know, a lot of things will get attached to the tree and will be there, right? So like that, we have to find, what our trees are, what are these things are, we have our own, each of us have our own, these things. The thing to watch out for is association. You associate with people who are for whom this is important. Whatever you do, whatever you do, it will rub off. It will rub off. It may feel very subtle. It may seem like this thing. I'm just going there for a small party. I'm just saying hi, bye, and then coming back. By the time hi, bye happens, a little bit of all the thing would have. Because what is happening with association? What is the problem with association? What is the problem with association?
You get carried away. You get carried away
We
with their
start
thoughts.
comparing ourselves also and get attracted to what they have, and we start comparing where we are and what we do not have. So our focus will shift from what we have to what we do not have.
Contemplation starts.
Contemplation starts. Fundamentally, contemplation starts. And you said very rightly, right? It is really not about what you have, it's about what you don't have. Right? That's how this material world is created, such that there's always, let's say, asam or dua, they say, right? There's somebody always above you. Whoever you are. Unfortunately, that is how this world is created. Right? I remember, back in when your Indian days, let's put it that way, right? When you were younger or this thing, you said, oh, this person is in America, like he has a lot of money and all that. It was a something, to aspire for. Once you come, I'm working all the time on this thing, Somebody else is higher than you. Oh, my boss is, why he's got a bigger car, bigger house, he's got this, he's got that. You go to boss circle, he's talking about, the CEO, the COO, this guy, the CFO. He's got a yacht.
The
He's got a
person you
white suit.
went to, the 4,000 square feet person, is probably already thinking about 8,000 square feet of somebody who owns.
You're already planning for it, working hard on it. It's already, there's no limit. There is really no limit. And there is, you go all the way to, who's the richest person in the world. You go to Bill Gates, he's already like, think about, a person like Elon Musk, right? I was listening to his TED talk recently, and then he's like, people are asking him, why do you want to go to Mars? And in my lifetime, I want to go colonize Mars, and we should create a Mars colony. It's like, why? We have enough problems. Forget it. There are enough good things over here. There are enough problems over here. If you want to solve the world problem, there are enough problems to solve here. Why do you want to go to Mars? Did anybody hear that TED talk by any chance? He said, when I get up in the morning, I should have something to aspire for. A person who is that rich, that powerful, none of the things here is going to make it. Like, what? Oh, I want to be big. I'm already big. I want to be the most powerful. I already am. I'm on top of the best companies in the world. I'm like every day doing all the. I have billions of dollars. I don't know what to do with the money. Fundamentally, actually, people like that, like if you go look at Elon Musk's life, or like even for the matter Steve Jobs' life and all those people, they are not, every day thinking I have to build a yacht. He's really not bothered about the yacht, nor the money. You go look at his wardrobe, they'll be like, very limited. Anybody with a little brain will not spend money on all these, dress and watch and this and that. Those are all like people who are caught in the really lower level of this thing. For people who are higher level, these are all like immaterial things. I want to have something to aspire for to get up in the morning. None of these things make him get up in the morning. Mars is what is making you get up in the morning. Think about it. That should teach us something, You become Elon Musk also, you will still have a problem. You want to go to Mars.
But at least just replace that with spiritual world. At least he has something outside the world.
Yeah, but that replacement has to happen at a very fundamental level.
Right.
You don't need to go to Mars, you don't need to go to this, you don't need your billion, you have to go inward. Then finally you will come and say, all I need is, I am Satchitananda myself. I don't need any of those things. You will come to that thing. So here, association creates to contemplation. So stay away from it. Right? There is an equalization. So the opposite of this, in green I should put this, is associate with devotees. Create the right association. The devotee association. Find, I always keep saying, see, this kind of spiritual subject matters, it is not something that you can go read a book and understand and I know what to do now. These complicated things have only one way of learning, what is called apprenticeship. Right? We call apprenticeship in this world of mentorship and all those things. Fundamentally goes down to, by seeing another spiritually elevated person, you learn their thoughts rub off, their contemplations rub off to you. That's why when Srila Prabhupada was present in this world, and devotees who were just saw him for a few minutes, met him, they were like amazed at the simplicity of his thinking and his living. It's fundamentally at that level. Then that is why in this, we as devotees have to create those associations. For whatever we are working on, we have to find people who are doing that good. Whatever you are working on, because each of us have our own problems. Find one more person who is doing a little better than you, or better, good in that particular area that you are really working on, and learn from that. Associate with them. And it's all in your hands. You have to really go look for it and do it. Right? Very close to time. So, anything else about Dhanam? Anybody wants to add? Any realizations or experiences in this matter? oh, there's no limit to how much dhanam you can accumulate also. Like normal accumulation thing also, right? It goes on and on, there's no, the wealth is in its utility. There's a talk about, like, the amount of wealth you have is like how much you're able to utilize is what really matters. And at a certain stage, as long as you're simple, you will hit that stage very fast. But there's not much you can utilize. If you're really devoted and if you're really looking at fundamental level, you'll hit the stop point very, very soon. I don't have a need to do stuff. I don't even need to accumulate things. Like, only 3-4 things that you use on a normal basis. On this matter, I would push for us to like simplify. They say Zen living, right? And try to reduce the things around you, things around the house, things, because when the more things there are, it just complicates life. Buy really good things, but keep it down to a few basic minimum things. Don't, some of the things I've heard help in this, right, is like, if you're buying something new, it has to, either you should be giving away something, or donating something, or something should go away. You should be replacing something. Go down to your basic core. What do you need? And you will see that the less things you have, the more time you have for other things, and more time you have for Krishna and higher spiritual subject matters.
There's a concept going on in Japan now called minimalist living, where everybody is giving away what they had, and they're counting the number of things in the house, only 140 things or 100 things that they have, and they're shifting to smaller places so that they have more peace. I was seeing the documentary, and people who started doing that, they said they have more time for everything, and their mind is free now. They're peaceful.
Right.
They were in this constant rush and anxiety before, which has now gone down, and they feel good about themselves now. They're leading the same work life, everything, but they're more peaceful.
Just simple concept, because basically the concept is still param drishtva. You don't have to go all the way up to Krishna. You can stop in between also. I mean, right? You can stop. Basically, what they're trying to do there is, if you think about it, in the spectrum of material and spiritual, there is an in-between layer where you stop doing material things. That is what is called as Brahman realization, right? You may call it 100 different ways. The Buddhist philosophy, that's the whole essence of Buddhist philosophy, right? Is to stop doing the crazy material things we do. Not that we're doing, because at that point you are experiencing Satchidananda, right? And it's also a concept of figuring out, is that an easier process, or is it easier to replace those non-doing things with doing Krishna things? And that is the beauty of why Prabhupada, in our Sanatana Dharma and our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara, we talk about how we replace our material activities with spiritual activities. So that's a wonderful example of this. It's a practical thing that you can all try. Reduce the number of things you have, all the problems will reduce, The less things to break, less things to do, less things to worry about, less things to upgrade.
Less things to clean.
Yeah, that's most important.
I can only imagine, the Gita Samsara will start, right? I have a big house now, I need something to do here, add this and that, and tomorrow. Next thing you have like a huge setup to take care of stuff like that. So, association. Janam. What is Janam being referred to over here?
Adoration, relatives.
Relatives, friends.
Why
Different
kids? Why not
concepts.
kids?
Relatives is at a lower level here. Somebody said kids is at a lower level here. Adoration is at a higher. It is a finer essence of the same thing.
Friends.
Family.
Kids are fun.
Somewhere between the two. Depends on who you're talking to.
Social network.
Social network.
That is even
Now
below.
virtual
And the-
too.
Virtual. But fundamentally, what is the concept?
Acceptance.
Adoration, you want to be
Acceptance,
praised by people.
most
And
especially.
it's usually,
Yeah.
it is more fundamentally, if you really deeply ask yourself, this is where we have to introspect a lot. At the most, if you keep going about adoration, there is a more fundamental concept. I want to push you guys to think about it. Let's see What is it that is the most fundamental about this Janam?
You want to be boss of something. You want to lord over.
You want to lord over us, right? This enviousness is what we call, right? But word envy feels like, I don't have envy. Anybody will say, I don't have envy. I'm not envious. Like, I'm not an envious person. I'm a very simple person. This is why you should go fundamentally. Why do you want to be adored? Yes.
Ego. Satisfy
You
your
are,
ego.
you are better and bigger than. Why will somebody adore you? Only if you are some better than others. It may simple be, oh, I have more wealth and I am better like that. Or it could devotee this thing, I am more advanced. I chant 16 rounds. I chant 18 rounds. I chant 20 rounds. Right? It could be different things. Finally, it comes down to. It's all like that's why Bhagavatam talks about Nirmatsaranam Sadam. Right? This is a way of living, a level, a practice for Nirmatsaranam, those who are non-envious at the fundamental level. So Janam means, you can get caught in this at multiple levels. Right? Let's forget all the other people, who are not, the material this thing. Then let's talk about devotees kind of a life. We can easily get caught in this in terms of, oh, I am a senior devotee, I am in charge of this, people should respect me, I should do this, I should become this, we should, what we should, in our consciousness, what we should watch out for over here is, anytime an activity, I get a lot of, I feel so good about doing this service, right? A lot of people say, I feel so nice about doing this service. At the outset, it looks like service, nice. What is wrong with it? Right? You should go ask the question, what about this service, because you're, 3 people to boss around, tell them, do this, you do this, do that, you're feeling nice about it. Tomorrow, nobody shows up and you have to do by yourself, and it's like, so, too much of service, I don't have time, You should actually introspect and think, what aspect of that nice service, is that you really like about. I like to do this particular thing. It is usually something associated with, some of these things that you're getting caught with. And so we should always introspect and then say, then finally, the real pure devotee, what is his prayer? That's what we should ask when somebody prays. Like, oh Krishna, whatever you want, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself prays, like, you do whatever you want with me, give me whatever you want, you take what you want, I will be happy with that. That level of, this thing comes when we reach very, very high levels of forgetting Janam and, adoration and all these things. I don't care what people think of me, what the devotee can forget, none of us care about what karmis think about us. We don't care, right? We have already given that up long time ago. But we shouldn't even care about what other devotees think of us. That is not the criteria. What does, the GBC think of me? What does the temple person think of me? What does the this thing think of me? It doesn't matter. They're all, like temporary things in this, existence. That is, it matters that you're maintaining proper consciousness and, you're being responsible and all that. But beyond that, it really doesn't matter. You don't need somebody to come and praise you to be happy. We have to go fundamentally to a deep level. I'm going to wrap up in 2 minutes. Sundarim Kavita. Now this feels like, he is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's a sannyasi and given up everything and all that. And he's talking about the basic level. Sundarim Kavitam Jagadisha Kamini. Right? Why is this being talked about this thing? Because what happens, this one, you and your mind are the only people who know what is going on at this level, right? All I can tell you is something is going on over here. Otherwise, we won't be here in this material world. It's a very, it's a serious problem also. It's as serious a problem as any of these things. And as you advance more in these matters, this becomes a bigger problem because Maya has to find something to hold you back. Something has to be there to hold your attention and your thinking and your this thing, right? So, this is at a fundamental level. So that's why there are very simple devotee concepts and things that we do so that this doesn't become It's a deterrence. See, ideally, right? When you have, I remember back in ISKCON Bangalore, when I was a full-time devotee, right? We were 40 brahmacharis, right? Only brahmachari ashram. So most of our day was spent, other brahmachari. It's not a problem. There's no time to think, this thing. But that's not how the world works. We have to go out and collect. We have to go out and preach to people. All of us have to work outside. There's so much, this thing going on. How do you make sure that, at a fundamental level, this is not taking your, ideally what is this doing? It's taking away your time, right? It's wasting your, your resolve and this thing. It's just different levels. It's very subtle levels. This is not, at the subtle level, you feel like, oh, somebody should, recognize me as being good. I mean, for example, see, Madhupada Prabhu was talking about this in one of his recent lectures. Opened up, new thinking about this topic. See, when we say, I can only talk about, I am stuck in this man body for this lifetime, so I don't know. I don't know what a woman body is thinking or what a woman mind is thinking. Like, everybody has their own way of thinking. It's exactly the other, and it's the same problem. But the problem, is defined in different ways. Madhupada Prabhu brought up an interesting point. He said, for women, the problem is they are attracted by, he said, strength and power more than physical appearances. I don't know. He's talking from a Shastri point of view. We should contemplate. The reason why we need to understand each of these things is we have to exercise, in the mind, at the mind level. This is the purity of the mind problem. If we do not exercise the level of purity of a thought and consciousness, it only pulls you back. Nothing good can come out of, of these problems. It can only pull you back. It can only deviate you from your, resolve. And as I said, Maya will find subtle ways to waste your time. Right? It could be different forms. Any of these things can take your time and can pull you away from it. So just to summarize, we said, why do we have to control our mind? Because we want to spend our time on Krishna. Right? Even though we are eternal spirit souls, but in this material body, in this common situation, somehow we got the good fortune of getting associated with devotees, and Prabhupada's mercy. We read his books, and we are aspiring. There is devotees are aspiring to follow. So we have limited time. We want to conserve that time. Otherwise, what does mind do? It creates deviations and unnecessary necessities. So how do we stop that? We have to think about the fundamental concept is engage in Krishna. Engage in Krishna's activities. Keep doing more and more things with Krishna. Right? We can spend a whole day just talking about that. How do you spend more and more on Krishna? And keep refining. And even within, for example, we'll say, I'll only eat Krishna Prasadam. Right? In our temple, we can only eat Krishna Prasadam and get nice, fat, dumb and happy. So much of it going around all the time in all varieties. Is there, can you imagine? There's unlimited levels of this thing. It's not. We have to go beyond that and say, what do I need to eat? It's Krishna Prasadam only. But how much do I really need to eat to keep this mind and body and this together? Right? And to be honest with you, if every day you're having nice prasadam, your mind will get attached, good. Hopefully, it's taking only the prasadam aspect and not the taste aspect. But as long as taste, it's because you should check your mind. What is your mind thinking? You can lust over prasadam also. Right? It's like not. That's why I said, everything there is a subtle or finer level of every single thing. So what do? That's why we have all these different opportunities to fast, right? Different times when simplify. Just because there are 8 items over there in higher taste, you don't have to eat all the 8 items. Right? Few days just take simple dal and sabzi. Right? So we have to exercise. Whenever you have an opportunity, that's why I said every time we get small opportunity, we should exercise our free will. Exercise our free will. That is when Maya relinquishes her hold on you. So Param Dishwa Nivartate. Finally we said, what are we trying to know? What is the, how are we should know the other side of the material problem is dhyana leading to sangha leading to kama leading to krodha. We should stop at dhyana level. We should stop contemplating. Jhayato. Not dhyana. Jhayato. Contemplation level. And how, what are we usually contemplating on? This is the fundamental things that take away our time. And we should figure out, how do we lessen our time, right? There are people I know, like, for this point, right? They spend unlimited, ridiculous amount of time taking care of their body, right? Subtle thing, this facial, this thing, putting on. Just, there's no limit. There's no limit to this, after all said and done, this is just going to wither and go away. We're all going to become, dust in the, the 2x6 we're going to occupy in the end, right? Okay, so let us stop here. I think we ran a little bit, we are 10 minutes over time. Okay, any quick questions? Yes.
How are situations related to mind control?
How are, can you say a little bit more?
Like I want to wake up in the morning. I somehow wake up, but every time, even if I wake up by 3:30 or 5:30 or 6:30, my son wakes up with me. I end up sleeping back with him. So is it something to do with the mind control, or some situations we are forced to?
Yes. So your son is being an
No, I
know. I've been very this thing, but because
I have the same problem actually.
Usually it's a son, it is somebody else, and it's something else. Really, the problem is different for different people. The problem is fundamentally it's the same, right? I mean, see, these are all, the way to think about this is, they're all different tests of Maya to just check your resolve, right? If you try to go analyze, I'm sure it will take time. See, we should have patience with this also. There's no need to get, very, tomorrow I'm going to become, many lifetimes we've been doing all kinds of nonsense. So as long as you keep putting Krishna, the evolution and the getting better at different things is a slow and steady process. There is no immediate hurry to make big changes. But fundamentally, if you really are sincere in your heart and you're saying that this is continuing to be a problem, you're still trying, you still keep trying, that is your sadhana. That you're still trying. The sun gets up, you keep trying. The sun is going to go up pretty soon. The problem will stop. At that time, make sure that nothing else gets replaced with the sun. Something else is a problem. And even now, you're really sincere about it. Again, apprentice with others. Ask other people who have gone through this and figure out how they have solved a particular problem. At a fundamental concept level, if you are sincerely praying to the Paramatma in the heart, I want a solution to this problem, the Paramatma will find a solution. It all really comes down to, are we really serious? Why does Maya test us? You might say, I want to be a devotee. I don't want to be with Maya. Why does Maya test me like this? Because fundamentally, for example, Dhanam, right? I want to use it for Krishna service. Why is Maya? When it's given to you, actually, that's when I'll give a little to Krishna. But 100 different problems. Maya knows, Krishna knows. That's why you're tested at every stage to make sure, are you really looking for Krishna, or you still have some attachment? So think about it. Talk to other people who have gone through this. And fundamentally at the soul level, yearn for doing what you want to do and keep trying it. You tried, check mark. You've not gotten up and then slept continuously, negative. That itself is an achievement. And keep taking pleasure in those achievements and keep doing more of those, things will come around. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.